9 years ago, I was hit by a car riding my bike to work. I sustained a traumatic brain injury, and I did everything the doctor said to do with therapies and various medications to try to get my brain function back. I did this for 5 years, and at the end of that time, the doctors realized that there was really nothing more that they could do for me, and I was sent home to enjoy what I had left of my life. So I continued on my own doing research because I really believed that there had to be another way. So I decided I would be my own experiment, and I ended up taking on this way of preparing food in an attempt to see how healthy I could get. How much of my life could I get back? How much of my brain function could I get back? Could I be a better parent for my kids? Could I be there with them in the present moment instead of laying on the couch and emotionally unavailable for them? I found a way to use whole food, plant-based nutrition as an option to healing the brain. I began preparing food in a particular way that kept the enzymes intact and getting the benefits of that. And within a few short months, I noticed that my brain just clicked on. The creativity started coming back, which was amazing because I was led to believe at that point that I would be depressed and unable to think much for the rest of my life. I've been eating a plant-based whole food nutrition for about 4 years, and I've had amazing results. So I'm here to share that with you. When I started getting results, people who knew me before were watching the transformation and were amazed, and they wanted to know, what are you doing? And so I started to talk to them about this way of preparing food, and they would say, oh, that's too time consuming, and that's too expensive, and I don't have the energy to do what you do. And then I realized I really needed to show them how I do it. So what I did was I created the Smart Raw Food method, which is a resourceful way of looking at ingredients and also a way of making tasty recipes. And when I share this with people, they just can't believe how easy it is and all the money and the time that they save. And they feel better because they're getting the benefits from the whole food plant-based nutrition. The first thing I want to do is show you how to leverage your time by chopping things in a certain way so that you're going to actually save lots of time. This is a bell pepper, and I'm going to show you how to do it now. And we're just going to chop off the top. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to slice like this. So that just saved a bunch of time. The other thing we can do is we can stack things up and then we can slice them. And then we just move our hand as we go. Now what you might notice is that I have my knuckle right up against the knife. And that keeps my fingers intact. There. These would be considered julienne. The next thing we're going to do is chop an apple. What I like to do is I like to cut along the core. And there's your apple. Here's a tomato. And what I do with the tomato is, again, I cut across the core, and then I'll just do this. Now, a lot of people think that you have to peel ginger. If the ginger is organic and it's a really nice fresh piece, then you can just put it in your recipe. But what I'm going to do is show you how to peel it. So you take a spoon and your ginger, and you just gently go across. Well, let's do it this way. So it's really the apex of it that's peeling it. So here is an avocado. With an avocado, you can use a knife, or sometimes when I'm in the store and I'm in a hurry, I always have a spoon with me, so I can just use the edge of the spoon. So now we have bok choy. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut the end off. And then what I like to do is I like to make ribbons. When I was in college, I was studying indigenous people, and they would always practice leaving a little bit for the earth. So I was thinking about that the other day when I was chopping things up, and I had put the bok choy in the worm bin, and then I came back later and I noticed that it was actually growing. So what I want to do is to show you what I do now. So with bok choy, here's what I do. I just put it in a container, and as you can see, I put dirt in it so that it'll get the roots, but as you can see, it will grow and you'll have other bok choy. So what I'm going to do now is show you how you can also do it with onion. So you can use all of the onion, and what I'm going to do is I'll show you how to chop it. If you want to dice an onion without crying, is you leave the root and then you just cut along all the way almost to the edge. And we want to dice, so then I turn it to the side, and then almost all the way to the edge again. And then we're ready to dice. So what I'd like to show you is how far down you can go. You can use the whole thing, and what I would suggest, and what I've done in the past, is I will use all of it, except for I'll leave like a triangle. And what happens to that is, let me show you this. Even in my refrigerator, the onion will sprout. And then this is one that it typically grows, one will typically grow into 3. So I want to show you here that that's what happened here, is that I had one of these, and it grew into 3 different modules, or 3 different onions. Now some of you might have noticed that I'm using a little bit of a different kind of a knife. This is a ceramic blade as opposed to a metal blade. Now what happens when metal touches acid is it oxidizes, and oxidation creates free radicals in our body. So we also like to use the ceramic knife because when we cut lettuce or bok choy or anything, when we're cutting our vegetables, it actually keeps it fresh longer. A lot of people ask me about these knives, and I like to use them because they're really lightweight and I can chop all day and it doesn't hurt my wrists at all. And the other thing is that I've had this particular knife for about 3 years and I haven't sharpened it yet. And when you do need to sharpen these blades, you send it back to Japan to the company that they came from, and they sharpen them on their diamond cutter, and then they send them back to you, and it's just the cost of shipping. So I really love these. So try it. So now what I want to show you is a really cool gadget called a vegetable spiruli. And I love to use this to make spaghetti. And I make a lot of spaghetti Alfredo. So what I have here is a zucchini, and you just fit it in here with the blade that makes spaghetti. This has 3 different blades. You can peel the zucchini for authentic spaghetti noodles, or you can leave the peel on for the alkalizing effect that you get from the chlorophyll that is in the zucchini skin. It makes really long noodles, and kids love this. Another noodle that you might be hearing about is the kelp noodles. They're raw kelp noodles, and what I like to do with these is I make a noodle Alfredo sauce that I'm going to be showing you in a little bit. And what I do to marinate these come in really long noodles as well, and I like to cut them up a little bit. You can use scissors or a knife. And I want to show you a basic marinade is Celtic sea salt. This will help soften the noodles. So it's Celtic sea salt and olive oil. Just a bit. And then what you get to do is you get to massage it in. Massage it in really well, probably in a large mixing bowl. And then we'll set that to the side. Now this is the part of the Smart Raw Food method that is the tasty part. Here we're going to make a so easy chop suey salad. I love this. You can use it in many different ways. I'm going to show you how to do that. First of all, what we need is the mung bean sprouts. You can get these at the store, already grown for you, or you can grow them yourself. So what I did was I got these at the store. So I take the mung bean sprouts and I put them into a bowl. And then I like bok choy. Some people find celery to be really stringy, and they don't like it. But this is a lot like celery, but really tasty. It's got the nice crunch. So I'm just going to cut it up into ribbons, and I'll show you how I do that. Again, I'm going to use the knuckle, or the flat side of my fingers, and I'm going to have like a claw. So I do that, and it's always about right at the knife. And I'll just work my way down. Now there's a lot of different ways you can cut, and I'm going to show you one, actually right now, is just where you leave the butt or the tip of the knife down, and you're just going to do like this kind of soft motion, and then you're just going to move down the way. Now that's really quick. Now I've got green onion. We can practice our chopping skills here too. We have our bean sprouts, our bok choy, and our green onion, and now we're ready for our garlic. To cut this garlic, I'm going to use this metal blade because it stays really firm. And so when peeling the garlic, I like to crush it and then just peel it like that. And then I'm going to show you a trick how to mince it up. We're going to use a food processor. So there it goes. This is a really great time saver as well. And you're minced. And that goes in your salad. Now some of you already know that one of my secrets to tasty marinade is so simple. It's Celtic sea salt and olive oil. Or an oil. You could also use sesame oil in this, would be great. And it's just enough to marinate it, or to start to get it crunchy. The other thing that I'm going to use for this are some sunflower seeds. I'm going to go ahead and put those in now. And then I'm just going to use my hands and crunch it up. There's no soy at all in here. It makes a fine mess. And a tasty one. So there it is. So now I want to show you a couple of different ways that you can have this chop suey salad. One way is just to have it on a plate plain. I'll just use my fingers. So you can eat it, a big bowl of it if you like. Another way is to open up an orange bell pepper. Now orange bell pepper is my favorite. I'm going to show you a really fun way to open it, is just to crack it open in the back. And it comes with 3 easy compartments. So there. Put some of this in here. And it would be easy to eat. Right? Another thing that I like to do with this is use a nori sheet. Now, some people say that the nori texture goes on the inside. But I'm a rebel, and I like it the texture on the outside. So that's how I do it. And again, I'm just going to use my fingers. And you can use it this way and fold it up, but what I also like to do is I like to add a little bit of avocado. So I'm just going to do that. And then also, I like a little bit of tomato in there. So I'm just going to line that up. This is really refreshing. Fold up the sides this way, and then we're just going to roll it over. And you'll notice what I do is I kind of squish it so the juices come out into it, and then that'll hold it. There you go. So now we're going to make an ocean pate. And what that is walnuts with cashews. And if you see this, these have been soaked. And what we do is we soak both the walnuts and the cashews together. And as you can see, the cashews, the pigment from the walnuts bleeds over onto the cashews. And then when we blend it up, it'll make it look like tuna. But we call it ocean pate. So we take these and we put them in the food processor, and with our water, a little bit of Celtic sea salt, and half of the lemon. So we're going to put half in, and this is the key to this particular recipe, is that we only put half lemon in, and then we start it up, and as it's going, we add the rest of the lemon. So ready? And then we stop occasionally to wipe the sides down. So what we have here is a really creamy pate with the look of a tuna fish. And we put it in our bowl. Now walnuts are the shape of, some people say they're the shape of the brain. They're very good. They're high in magnesium. They're good for the brain. We add celery to this. We have parsley that's been diced up. And then we have our onions. And we just mix it up. It smells delicious. So for people who are looking for a tuna substitute, or you're concerned about the mercury in the water, you can turn to ocean pate. Here's what it looks like. And now we can do it. This is one of the recipes in the Smart Raw Food method where you can take this same recipe and you can use it many different ways. And I'm going to show you that now. So you can take a bit of it and stuff it into a vegetable. Grab that. And you can eat that. A really fun idea is to take some of it and put it in a avocado. And then what I like to do is to make a little celery spoon and serve it with the avocado like that. You can use a nori sheet and you can roll it into, some people call it sushi. And so what you can do is put a bit on here. And typically you would put other vegetables, so like celery or cucumber, something really kind of crunchy. And then you would have your bell pepper, again, sliced up. Just a few slices. And you typically have a bunch of greens that you would put on there. And then you would just roll it nice and tight. Take your knife, cut it, And then there. You could serve this up with some wasabi. That would be really delicious. This is my tortilla recipe. Everybody wants it. So now it's yours. And what we start with, what is so great about this is that if you are allergic to corn or sensitive to corn or gluten or don't want GMO corn, this tortilla tastes like corn without the corn in it. So how I do that is with zucchini. Zucchini is such a great, versatile vegetable to use. Zucchini is to raw foodists like tofu is to vegetarians. You can dice it, chop it, marinate it, make it taste like just about anything you want. And we're going to use it today in place of corn. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take chia seeds. Now chia seeds, which you might be learning about more lately, is something that has essential amino acids and omega fatty acids in them. And they're really great for athletes, also use them a lot because they're high energy. So what we're going to do is we're going to grind these up and set them to the side. Ready? So we ground them up. Now we're going to set them to the side. And we're going to start with our zucchini. I love this recipe because it's very simple and it's very quick. And you don't have to take a lot of time measuring out the zucchini. It's about 4 cups, and they just go right in. One of the things that helps, I do want to say that you're going to have a green tortilla, which is kind of a fun name, a green tortilla. If you add red, then it'll be kind of a more orangey color. And if you add yellow, then it'll be kind of a muted green color. But we'll do this, and I'm going to put some red bell pepper in there. I also have some leftover onions, and it really won't hurt to put those in there. So they go in as well. I have cumin and coriander, and that gives it its Mexican flavor. And then a little bit of salt. Now you'll notice that I don't have any water in here, and I don't really need it because the vegetables they have enough water in them. I'm going to put a little bit of the red chili pepper in there. You can also use a jalapeno pepper if you want. And now we're going to mix it. I like to taste it to make sure it's the flavor I want because I'm going to use the dehydrator. And if something doesn't taste right before it goes in the dehydrator, it's not going to taste good after it comes out. So the next thing I do is I'm going to add back, I'm going to keep it right in the Vitamix, and I'm going to add back. Now the chia flour actually acts as a thickener. And it's about a cup is what we need, and I made quite a bit here. So we'll put that in. And we'll mix it. And what we have here is a really nice dough. I'm going to show you as I pour it out onto the Teflex sheet. Now this is an Excalibur dehydrator. And what is so great about this, let me just pull out a sheet and show you. So this is the tray with a mesh sheet on it. And then this is the Teflex sheet. Now this makes all the difference in the world when you have things that might otherwise ooze through the bottom. So I'll show you how this comes out. Like a dough. It's all ready to spread. This recipe, well, I call it my tortilla recipe, can also be used for chips, tortillas. The tortillas can be used for taquitos or burritos. and quesadillas. So what I do is, I just want to show you how I do this, because this is a technique I teach my students. I fix it in a corner first, and then I use the side with the flat edge of the blade, and I just go down. Here, let me fix it in the corner better. And what I'm really looking for here is for the burrito skin or the tortilla, I really want it really thin, but not so thin. Yeah, I just really want it thin. And what it ends up being is about the thickness of this of the little divot here. Now I can tell I have too much. If you were going to make chips out of this, you could make it pretty thick. And if you have leftover salsa, you could put the salsa in here for extra flavor. And if you were going to make bread, you would make it even more thick. So you can tell it's a very versatile recipe. So what I do next is I check it by just scoring down the middle. This is fairly thick, but it will work really well. You don't have to score it, but you can. Now if I was going to make the taquitos, let me show you. I'll show you on this half. If this was going to be taquitos, taquitos are really small, like 2x2s. So here you can see on the same tray I have 2 burritos and 8 taquitos. You can also use these in either one for quesadillas. And if I was going to make chips, I would make it a little bit thicker, and I would go in triangles. This recipe actually makes 2.5 dehydrator sheets full. And also, what you'll do is you'll put this on 115 for 5 hours, and then you can turn off your dehydrator and let it set for a while if you want. These will last in your refrigerator for 3 weeks or more. Enjoy!
Hey, I'm Chef David Hempseed, and I've been eating totally raw foods since 2007. And the year before that, I became very inspired by Victoria Batanko and her research that she's done in her book, Green for Life. Right before I had the Vitamix blender, I would take leafy greens like kale leaves or romaine lettuce and put a piece of banana in there and roll it up. So I did that for quite a few months. And then with the Vitamix, the main thing about it is you can take the leafy greens, the dino kale, and the Italian parsley that we'll be using in the green pudding. And it's a green pudding because usually people make the green smoothies with some water. So the green pudding with no water, it has more substance to it. So what I've found is with the Fuji apples, they're the juiciest and most flavorful. We start off with, cut down the middle, and then what I like to do is you can core it out on the edges, and I like to get the most out of the apple. So you can core it any way you like to, but by taking the ends off and then just taking the seeds, and there's a little shell kind of in the middle. So you want to cut the apple into 4 pieces, So we're going to be putting these 2 apples in, and then you can put a whole bunch of the dino kale. So that's an apple and a half, and then the other half of this one, we'll just dice it up. And we'll just we'll have this as a garnish later on. And then what I like to do is I get into the Italian parsley next, because the leaves are smaller, so we need them to be in the middle, and then the dino kale will push them down into the blades. We don't want to have too many stems, so I just pick them off, because it's mainly about the chlorophyll and the leaves. This is where you get the calcium from and magnesium. The darker the leaf, the more nutritious it is. So that's why I go after the dino kale being one of the darkest leaves. We put like a half a bunch in there. And then with the dino kale, there's a couple of ways to do this. You can take the leaf, and once you get it started, take your fingers like a claw and pull the leaf off and put it over the Vitamix. And then if you have a ceramic knife or any knife, you can gently just use the weight of the knife and you shave down the spine. And then let's do some more blender action. And then the blue-green algae is one of my favorites. So you can put about a tablespoon to 2 cups of green pudding. Flake it on any way you like. You can put the apple chunks in there first, and then the blue-green algae, or afterwards. It's optional. And there you are, is green pudding.
I've been told that this recipe could promote world peace. It's kept some people raw for over 2 years, and one woman writes me and tells me that she uses it medicinally every morning. So what I'm going to show you now is my recipe that I call seduction. It's my raw chocolate sauce, and it is amazing. One taste and you will see why I call it seduction. It's so simple. First, we're going to take agave nectar, and I like to use Ultimate Clear Agave, and it's 1 1/4 cups. I put the liquid in the Vitamix first. I don't want the cacao powder to cake in there, so I've got liquid in first, and the vanilla, and then I'll put the cacao powder, and then I like to use coconut oil. Is. Pop the top on. Now what we're looking for is a sheen on the top that's almost, to me it looks kind of bluish. Grab this. And sometimes you need to push the rest of the cacao down. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run it for just a little bit longer, even though it looks ready. I just want to make sure. Now, when I teach this in my class, I show people how they can actually put it in a container. Put a lid on it, put their own label on it, and give it to a friend. It makes a really great hostess gift, and who wouldn't want to get a container of raw chocolate? It's delicious. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to show you how you can power it up, and that is to put transformational superfoods in it that gives extra minerals. So what the extra minerals that I'm going to have today are, I'm going to start over here with maca powder. So maca is really good for balancing the hormones. So you get really good hormone balance when you have maca, plus it tastes awesome. And then I'm going to use blue-green algae. So blue-green algae is rich in chlorophyll, which is very alkalizing for the body, and also has most of the minerals that we need. Now, if you want to get something that has all the minerals we need, you could use the marine phytoplankton. But today, we're going to use the blue-green algae. Then we have cordyceps mushrooms. Cordyceps mushrooms are really good for longevity. Add that in there. And cacao nibs. Now, chocolate is really rich in chromium, magnesium, and iron. Those are 3 minerals that most of us lack, we're deficient in. So we're going to put a lot of that in there. And then I'm just going to blend it just to stir it up. I've got another jar for this one. And then when you put this chocolate sauce, this amazing power-boosting chocolate sauce, in any of your recipes, you're getting all those extra minerals that all of us need. And you can't taste the green and the blue-green algae. So what I want to tell you is that over time, this doesn't need refrigerating at all, and I've had it on my shelf for up to 6 months. And it's great. So if you find that it solidifies in here, then you're just going to take I'll use this one because it started to solidify. You're just going to take a knife or a fork and you're just going to whip it up until it gets really creamy again. And then you're going to do the plate test. Let me do this here. So the plate test, this is also a cool trick for gourmet raw food chefs, is when you can sprinkle it on your plate. There. And then we're going to put a big piece of cheesecake in there. This literally takes 11 minutes to do, and you can enjoy it right away. Okay? So what I'm going to do is start with 2 cups of almonds, and we're going to use the Vitamix because this makes flour like really quick. So 2 cups of almonds. And the other thing is that I like to do is I don't like to do a lot of dishes, so I will do things in a particular sequence, so that reduces the amount of dishes that we get to do. So we can have our time for other things. So this is the almonds in the Vitamix, and you're going to see how fast this is. Ready? That's it. So here's our crust. So this makes almond flour. We're going to add a little bit of Celtic sea salt, just, I believe it's a pinch. And what I like to do is I like to mix up the dry ingredients first and then put the wet ingredients in, so it's all even. Now notice I'm using the pie tin itself. So I've got a little bit of olive oil and a little bit of agave just for sweetness. Now this is ultimate agave. It's a clear agave. It's my favorite when I use agave. So I mix really well. And pretty soon you're going to see crumbs forming. And when it gets all mixed up, and the test we're going to use is grab it in your fist, and it holds really well, and then you can break it apart easily. So then what we do is we push it into the pie plate. And I start with the bottom of first, and then I work my way up the sides. And notice that I'll use my thumbs together, and I'll make that rim around the edge. Now this crust I use with my cheesecake, but you can use it with any cake or pie that you want. Strawberries and chocolate in here would be great. And again, I'm just going to go around the bottom. So there's the crust. And now we're ready for the filling. And we didn't even do a dish yet. That's exciting. So here's the cashews. Again in the Vitamix. And I love the Vitamix because it makes everything so creamy really quickly. We have our lemon juice to give it that sour flavor. Vanilla. Agave. Now you don't have to use agave, you could use dates instead. Dates will also help thicken it, but I'm going to use coconut oil for mine. This is about 2 tablespoons of coconut oil. And now we're going to cream it up. This takes longer than the almond meal. Ready? Now what I want to do is to get it to where it's rolling, the blades are rolling on its own. Now this is the vanilla version, or the original flavor version. You can also make it into chocolate or strawberry. I really like the spatulas that are straight because they're really good for spreading. So what we're going to do is just go around. And that's it. So there it is. Now we're going to garnish it. Now my favorite garnish on my cheesecake is mango and lime. So what I'm going to do is show you how to cut a mango that's really quick. We know that the seed is in the middle, so we cut down the side. And then I score it. And what I can do is I can take my spoon and just release it, or I can peel it back and then just cut it off or pick it off. And again, it's just peeling it back and cutting it off. What I like to do with the lime is just, what I did was, I just sliced it really thin, and then I cut half of it, and then I'm just going to twist it and put it right in the middle. And there it is. I love this recipe. It's margarita. And what we're going to do is we're going to prepare the glass. I've got my margarita glass that I'm just going to take some lime and rub around the edge. I've got my Himalayan salt, which has all kinds of minerals in it that are good for us. And then I'm just going to dab the glass every so often into the salt. I don't really want a full rim of salt. I just want salt highlights. So next what I'm going to do is take my lime juice and my agave, I'm going to add my ice. It's really just 2 cups of ice. Whoops. But you can add more if you like. So we've got everything in the Vitamix carafe, and now we want to put the lid on it. We're going to use a plunger. And what I want to do is I want to make it a little bit more chunkier, icier. So I'm going to add some more ice. You can make it so you can drink it with a straw like it just was, or I like to eat it with a spoon. So that's what we're going to do. Perfect. So now we're ready. When it's icier like this, it's really nice because then it allows more time for it to melt. So if you have guests you're waiting for, we add our garnish, and it's ready. For your younger kids, you might want to include them in your Cinco de Mayo or your summer evening when you're having your cool drink with a smaller glass that they can hold on to and eat out of with a spoon. So this I've already fixed up to have a little bit of salt here and there, not too much. And then we're going to add the margarita for them. And we can pile it up. This is lemon ginger tea. And what is in it is lemon, agave nectar, and ginger, plus water. It's that simple. So I have 5 cups of filtered water here, and I'm just going to, well, first I'll put the lemon juice in. It's 1 cup of lemon juice to 1 cup of agave. Now, if you choose to use stevia or a different sweetener, that's fine. You could even use dates if you were so inclined. In goes our ginger. Now, if you remember, we don't need to peel it because it's organic and it's fresh. So it's looking really good. It all goes in. And here we go. Now, if we wanted this warm, we could keep it going in the blender for just a few minutes, and it would warm it up really nice. Otherwise, it's ready to go now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use our little strainer so I can get all the ginger hair out of it. And there it is, lemon ginger tea. But you could also make lemonade or limeade. So here's an example of how you could do limeade. You have fresh squeezed lime juice, with water and agave, which is our sweetener of choice, in a pitcher. For lemonade, agave, lemon, and water.
Mother compassion, can you teach me how to find the light in the dark of these times? Oh, the light in the dark of these times. The light in the dark of my mind. Mother compassion, if I'm willing, can I stay and learn to love your way one more day, one more day. Oh, one more day, so I may move a mountain with a humble list of seeds, and at a whisper I'm willing to receive. Move a mountain with a simple list of needs. Oh, mothers, don't hear me.
This is my delicious noodle Alfredo recipe that has kelp noodles. Now, kelp noodles are awesome because they pull heavy metals from your body. What I've done is I have rinsed them really well with filtered water. Then I took my basic marinade, which is a secret to many of my marinade recipes, and that is the Celtic sea salt with olive oil. So I've massaged Celtic sea salt with olive oil into this kelp noodles, and that softened them a little bit. Then I took bok choy and I cut it in ribbons. And now I'm going to show you a quick way to make the broccoli flowerets. I take my knife and I'm just going to cut just the very ends. And if you can see this, I'm just going to do this. And then I'll keep cutting down. Get that. And what I'll do is later I can peel off this outer skin and I can use that in my salads or smoothies or other things, even in this recipe. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the Alfredo sauce. Now this is my son Tony's Alfredo sauce. So what's really awesome and special about this is that I showed my son Tony, who's now 18, how to make my delicious Alfredo sauce, and he trumped me on it. And that's one thing I love about teaching people, is that they come back and they show me something even more delicious than I've made. He uses 1 cup of cashews. We're going to use Celtic sea salt. That's about 1/2 to 1 tablespoon, depending on your liking of flavor. And then we've got black pepper and dried basil. Now, the salt, the pepper, and the basil are all about the same measurement, about 1/2 to 1 tablespoon. And we're also going to put in 3/4 cups of water. Whoops. Now, what I love about this recipe is that it's so quick. Don't forget the water. And now in less than 30 seconds, you're going to have Alfredo sauce. One thing you're going to notice, it's pretty watery in the beginning, and then as you keep going, it thickens. So what I'll do is I'll just pour this over. Scrape it out with a spatula, and then I'll toss it. We have a lot of noodles here and a little bit of sauce, so you could add more sauce if you want. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my salad. This is my Big Green Feast salad. And I'm going to take some of my noodles. With the sweet ginger dressing sauce, you've got a complete meal. It's that easy. I'm not sure what I'm going to say. What am I going to say? Welcome to my lair.
Something along those lines. Yeah, that's funny. Okay. You ready? Nut milk, take one.
Hi. All you crazy people out there. You're nuts.
Take two.
Hi, I'm Chef Mia Dalene, also known as Superhero Raw Chef Spice. Hi, I'm Mia Chef. I'm somebody. Who knows? Who knows? Go.
Okay.
More like nunchucks. Yeah. Watch it. Oh, yeah.
No.
Turn around. Here it comes.
Oh yeah.
Good. One fun trick for cleaning up the Vitamix is it practically cleans itself. So what we're going to do, let me start over. One fun trick to clean a Vitamix is just to fill it with water and then turn it on. No lid required.
Oh, the other one.
Whoops, the other one.
Hang on. I like the no lid required part.
Oh, that would go way up, wouldn't it? I was like, are you sure? Okay. I'm going to add my ice. It's really just 2 cups of ice. Whoops. But you can add more if you like. And then we'll get the lid on it. With a plunger. Yep. Ready?
Put the lid.
It all goes in. We just need our lid. I'm sorry. It's right there. Bloopers. We just need our lid.
Yeah. And there's 3 things about it that it's about the fiber and the chlorophyll and yeah, and then there's one more thing. There's and then you say blender action.